When you have a conversation about the Calder Trophy awarded to the NHL's Rookie of the Year, you usually have a few guys that bring themselves up and stay in the limelight for the remainder of the season, and they usually present themselves early on. However, this time around, for 2021-2022, when you talk about the upcoming Calder Trophy nominees, you're going to need a bigger boat. Because when it comes to these guys, not only are Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider of the Detroit Red Wings up there at the top, not only is Anaheim Ducks forward Trevor Zegras there as well, but we have ourselves a brand new challenger who has taken the league by storm with fists of fury and goals coming around all over. It is the Nashville Predators' Tanner Jeannot. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, who the heck is this guy? Why are you making a video about some random guy on Nashville? Let's go over the story here of one Tanner Jeannot, because it's really interesting over here, and because he is indeed eligible for the Calder and is one of the top rookie point scorers at the moment. I think his overall profile is indeed worth exploring to the point that we can actually make a video about him. So, Tanner Jeannot is a 24-year-old 6'2", 207 winger, born in 1997 in Saskatchewan, Canada. He's from Saski, baby. He is signed to a 2023 expiring deal worth $800,000 a season by the Nashville Predators. Now, he's been really interesting because he's actually undrafted. He played in the WHL his entire junior career for the Moose Jaw Warriors, scoring goals and getting penalty minutes. In his 2017-2018 season, he was an overager. And this was kind of the year where he broke out and finally solidified himself as a WHL star. He had more goals in this season than he had in the rest of the WHL years he had combined. But because he was already an overager, he actually didn't have the eligibility to stick around in the dub. He needed to go pro because he wouldn't be allowed to play. Therefore, he signed an AHL contract with the Milwaukee Admirals in the American Hockey League. There, suiting up in his first pro season, he had 11 points in 37 games played. Pretty okay, pretty standard, not too special for a guy who is fresh out of the WHL. The year afterwards, he had himself 20 points in 57 games played for Milwaukee, also spent a stint with the ECHL's Florida Everblades, where he was over a point per game over there. And he started off his 2020-2021, so last season, also in that system. 6 points, 5 games played for Florida. By the way, the ECHL, hockey logos are just so cool that you have teams like the Florida Everblades and the Orlando Solar Bears and just a whole bunch of other weird and wacky teams with some really great branding. The Quad City Mallards were always my favorite as well. But Tanner Jeannot, as a third-year pro player, was absolutely astounding in the minor leagues. He was pretty good in the ECHL, eventually made his way back over to the AHL, where for the Chicago Wolves he was over a point per game, almost at a goal a game, almost at 2 points a game. This was kind of the stint that put him on the radar and allowed the Nashville Predators to go out there and say, you know what, let's call this guy up, let's see what he's about. And in the limited sample that he had with the Predators in the NHL, remember, he's just a few months away from being an ECHL player, firstly because the NHL didn't start up till January, but still, 15 games played, 7 points, 5 goals, 2 assists last year, and 1 point in 5 games in the playoffs. Now, at face value, it's easy to look at the numbers and say, okay, the guy only had 7 points last year. How the heck is he as good as he is now? And we'll get to how good he is now in just a second over here, but you gotta remember, this is only 15 games played. This pace is really good for a first-year NHL player, especially one who had been in the ECHL just a few months beforehand. And so, the Nashville Predators, with this brand new guy who was pretty big, he was pretty speedy, he worked really hard, he got some goals that were just pure products of work ethic right there. The Predators decided to make themselves a move in the Seattle Kraken expansion draft that a lot of people were somewhat questioning at the time of the move's actual execution. And that was the fact that they decided to keep Tanner Jeannot on their protected list. That meant that the Seattle Kraken actually had free reign to select the player they did select from Nashville, Calle Jarnkrok. Considering the fact that Nashville only protected 3 forwards at the expansion draft, Forsberg, Luke Kunin, and Mr. Jeannot himself, it was really interesting for a lot of people going out there and looking at this team saying, okay, Why did they protect this guy, who's only played 15 NHL games, over Calle Jarnkrok, who is already an established NHL player, who's pretty alright, and who's probably going to help out the Seattle Kraken in a big way? Well, this season, you kind of have your answer. Tanner Jeannot, in 35 games played for the Nashville Predators, has 10 goals, 11 assists for 21 total points. This is a pretty good stat line because if you do the math right here, 21 divided by 35 multiplied out by 82, this first-year NHL rookie is on pace for 49 points. And in fact, in his past 10 games, he has 10 points in general. So this recent stretch that he has been on has really been the ignition of conversation as to Tanner Jeannot and the potential Calder spots. Also, his 10 goals are first in the league in rookie goal scoring, tied with Lucas Raymond. He has more goals than Dawson Mercer, Trevor Zegras, Dahlin, Bunting, Lundell, Newhook, and Podkolzin. If you take a look at total points, he is indeed fourth, so he is behind Zegras, he's behind Raymond, he is behind Moritz Seider too, but he has overtaken Michael Bunting, Dawson Mercer, Lundell, all the other guys too, in the recent stretch that he's had, where he has had these 10 points in 10 games. The goal scoring for Jeannot has come in similar ways as it did last year. He's getting a lot of goals right in front of the net, where he only has the puck for a quick second. He's grabbing rebounds and pawning it into open sides. He's tipping the puck on goal. He's spinning around the net, picking up the loose puck and just shooting it. He's getting these goals by being in the right areas at the right time, and he's like Park Seo-joon out there. He's got to fight for his way to get to those areas in front. Not to mention the fact that there's another aspect of his game that a lot of these other rookies just don't really have. He fights. And he fights a lot. He has himself 50 penalty minutes in 35 games played this season, and a big chunk of those penalty minutes have come from 5-minute fisticuffs that he has gone out there and ever so gracefully laid onto his opponents. This guy goes out there and dominates too in the dot. Against Andrew Peeke, that's the one that comes to my mind mostly when I think of a Tanner Jeannot fight. He absolutely went to town on the guy. And when it comes to just the overall profile, it's so rare to see rookies stepping into the NHL right away who display this combination of skills: goal scoring, playmaking, point producing, fighting. Nobody else does that at the top of the NHL when it comes to the rookie scoring race. And so if you're going to go out there and project any one of the 3 guys for this year's Calder nominees, Tanner Jeannot is slowly creeping into the territory in my mind that says that he could very realistically be one of these candidates. Obviously, points is pretty much the standard deviation when it comes to how people evaluate the Calder. It's usually how it goes down like that. And he isn't a top 3 guy in points. He is just on the outside. But him being tied with Raymond atop the goal race is indeed something that I think brings his profile to a much greater standard, because goal scoring is indeed a separate category that should be, in my opinion at least, seen with a greater amount of value than that of just assist or just points. Plus the fact that he's physical and he fights, like nobody else does that. I think it makes him unique enough to get voters considering the guy in these Calder ballots, but obviously we just gotta wait and see. He's on a heater as of late, 10 points in his last 10 games played. The Nashville Predators are going out there and getting some pretty good benefits out of this guy that was just a year ago in the ECHL. So, you want to talk about a comeback story, a revival story, a guy who had to work his way from the ground up, from a middle six WHL super depth kind of role up until the NHL and being one of the top NHL rookies right now. It only took 5 years to get here. Like, that's not a bad progression in the slightest. In fact, it's pretty accelerated in my opinion. If you want to go even more accelerated, just ECHL to top rookie goal scorer in the span of a year is pretty good too. So, talk to me in the comments if you're a Nashville Predators fan. What are your thoughts about Tanner Jeannot? And do you think this guy has a chance at being a Calder candidate? If you're a Red Wings fan, how worried are you that Lucas Raymond might get overtaken in goals sometime soon for rookie scoring? Do you think there's more to the conversation here when you bring in other names? You talk about guys like Michael Bunting, you talk about Lucas Raymond, obviously he's the top guy in points, but Seider, Zegras, these guys are very well in there too. Alex Nedeljkovic is another name also on Detroit, oddly enough, who can enter these conversations as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Calder right now. I know Raymond is probably He should be, at least, first in most people's minds still, but there are other guys that are creeping in behind there that are making things very, very interesting, and Tanner Jeannot, in my opinion, is definitely one of them. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.